For 8.2, we're talking about passing objects as arguments to methods, and this is a reminder, or a deeper dive rather, from what we saw back in Chapter 5. This is on page 500, I believe. Yep, 500. So that gives you a reference point for where to start with. And what you'll remember is we can absolutely positively pass variables as arguments to a method, right? We've been doing it this whole while. But the wrinkle that comes along that's associated with that is that when we pass a primitive data type, or if we pass a string, so that means if we pass an integer, a double, a float, a string, a character, etc., we're not really passing by reference, right? We're not passing the actual copy of that variable. We're passing by value. We're passing a copy of the value of the data that's stored inside of that variable. So we've, by now, all of you have grown accustomed, I'm pretty confident, to that idea, right? So that's why when we build a return type on, in an integer or a double or even on a string method, we will assign that to a local variable inside of main. Here, what we are reminding, I think more than anything, what we are reminding you in 8.2 is that yes, you can pass an object as an argument to a method. So that's actually what we see here. This is on page 501, and we see that we are essentially creating, it's here on line 11, we are creating a new object, so a new rectangle object, and we're calling it box, right? And we are providing some default values there to the constructor 12.0 and 5.0. But this time, what we've got is a change rectangle method. So if we scroll down just a little bit here, we'll see on lines 35 through 39, we have that change rectangle method. And what change rectangle does, so you'll notice again, public static void, change rectangle, and this time around, it is expecting rather, an object of the rectangle class to be passed to it. And we are calling that object R. Here inside of our method, we are assigning length, and we are assigning width via set length and set width, which if we scroll up and look, this is back on page 500. Those are the methods that we have here inside of our object class. So nothing particularly groundbreaking there. The new wrinkle here is that when we pass an object, we are passing along availability to the actual references that are stored inside of that object. So here, when on line 20, and again, this should be on 502, 501 and 502, when I pass along box to change rectangle, I am not passing just the values that are stored there. I am sending the reference, the actual copy of box to change rectangle. So here on lines 37 and 38, when I do set length and set width, I am changing the actual copies of length and width for box, which is locally called R, because they are in fact references to the same object. So if we look at the program output, we would see that yes, in fact, here's the box object with lengths and widths of 12 and 5, and then after passing the box object to change rectangle, that's what it's called, now we have a length and width of 0. That tends to, as developers, what it does for us is it cuts down on the amount of code that we have to write because we're taking out those additional assignments that we would have to do. But it is worth noting that you, when you are passing objects to methods in this way, you are in fact changing the copy of a set of data that you have. And every time it is that you change the only copy of a set of data, you should make extra sure when you are doing the testing for this that you are not creating any unintentional side effects, that you are not accidentally modifying those contents in a way that you cannot recover from later on down the road. So when you pass, as you have been, chapters 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and here you'll do it in 8. When you pass a primitive variable, you are passing a copy. When you pass an object, you are passing the only copy over to a method. So it's worth noting there.